Hello, um, Zukoru here, and today we have some viability rankings action. And as you can see, this is my GSC VR, and Snorlax is in first, Snorlax is in second, and yeah, Snorlax is third. And my boy Zapdos isn't first anymore. My boy Zapdos is in second place. Because Gengar took first, actually. And yeah, I know people will say, ah, bro, you're crazy, why you put Gengar first, blah blah blah. But yeah, I'm making this video to talk about GSC today, and especially this Gengar placement. The thing is, in my opinion, viability rankings shouldn't rank usage. A viability ranking, my metric is when I play one Pokemon, how much will it contribute to my victory, and not how forced am I to run it. The thing is, if Gengar, if like Snorlax is used by everyone because he's super good and wins game alone and he's just broken, then yes, Snorlax is obviously first. But my view on Snorlax is that you don't use it because he's brokenly winning every single game you face. You use Snorlax because you need its defensive prowess, and if you don't use Snorlax for that, then you are gonna lose to half the Pokédex, right? So Snorlax is forced on your team. It's not that Snorlax is particularly OP. It's just that if you want your team to not lose to every single meta threat, you have to run it, okay? So that's why I don't put Snorlax as high as other people. It's because it is just a super glue and you can use the rest of your team to try to win a game. Obviously, you have to run Snorlax, but it's still better than a lot of Pokemon in the tier, actually. It's better than everyone but two of them. So yeah, obviously, that being said, Snorlax is still one of the kings of GSC OU, and I don't advise anyone to play a team that doesn't use Snorlax, because Snorlax is obviously really fucking amazing in the tier. But okay, now that I said that, how are Zapdos and Gengar that good? Well, for Zapdos, maybe you have seen this BKC video that I don't really like because it kinda overrates Zapdos. Zapdos is just a monster in offense and it has some fringe roles in more defensive teams, but it's not like an auto-include in every single team like Bekas said. Nah, that's completely untrue in my opinion. But Zapdos is a fucking monster. The thing is that it's a solid answer to... Well, solid, not solid, but it's a decent answer to Gengar, Nidoking, Machamp, somewhat Starmie, but yeah, that's iffy. You don't really want to check Starmie with Zapdos, but maybe we'll talk about that later. It forces Steelix to boom on you, which can be abused. It's a fine Executor switch-in, if that's not your Machamp or Marowak answer. Main answer. Obviously, it's a pretty good Marowak mitigator. It's a fine Alakazam switch-in. Not switch-in, but like the fact that Thunder is 30% chance to para, like actually like 23 factor in accuracy, is a big deterrent for people to stay on you. Zapdos doesn't take spikes, which means every time you can double switch Zapdos in any given situation and you force your opponent to get out immediately, you are healing and your opponent is losing HPs, which is also very good. If you can conjugate that with Whirlwind, that's even better. So yeah, Zapdos is a fantastic Pokemon, but as I just said, Zapdos, like 9 times out of 10, will need spikes to really put in the work. And how will Zapdos keep the spikes in the current metagame? In my opinion, Gengar is really good at giving spikes for Zapdos. It's not the only thing Gengar does, but yeah, Gengar will make you keep the spikes as long as you make the good plays and your team is built around it. I will explain. Let's say you have the Gengar plus Cloister, which is the basic spikes lineup. If you play against Starmie, you will have Cloister with Toxic plus Gengar plus 1 Elec or Snorlax, and you will manage to keep spikes against Starmie. Unless it's Starmie plus Heal Bell, but that has a lot of problems because, as you saw, Blissey and Miltank are pretty low in the rankings, so yeah, it has its own set of problems. If you go, I have Pokemon Showdown on the back in case I need to show something at some point, but yeah, maybe I won't even use it. We'll see what happens. Okay, if you face Fortress with Cloister plus Gengar, I don't have to explain that Fortress has absolutely 0 chances. Against Golem, well, Cloister should win against Golem, and even Gengar. If you can predict a rapid spin and come with a Gengar that has HP Power Grass or Water, Golem cannot stay on you, so you will keep your spikes. And yeah, we can continue like that. Also, Gengar is very hard to trap. Tyranitar doesn't really trap it, Umbreon neither, so it will stay alive a lot of the time. Or at least take one Pokemon with him, and something that you want. As I said, Gengar wants to keep the spikes for mainly Zapdos. What is Zapdos' main check? It is, well, checks. It is Snorlax and Raikou. If what are the main check your opponent has to Gengar? Those are Zapdos, Snorlax, Tyranitar, Raikou, and then lower viability Pokemons that we will talk about later. But those are the main ones. Zapdos is iffy. You don't really want to come on ice punches, and let's say I need to trade my Gengar for Zapdos. There is a lot of Pokemon Gengar is a good teammate of that really like Zapdos to be out of the game. First, there is your own Zapdos. You're pretty happy to not have to play the mirror. There is Nidoking, for example. There is Starmie doesn't mind it. He's pretty happy that Zapdos is out. You can have Executor too, which really doesn't mind Zapdos out. So if you remove Zapdos, you play offense. So offensively, defensively, you get what I mean. If Zapdos is out of the picture, it will be hard for your opponent to kill your Pokemons, because your own Zapdos plus Snorlax will be very hard to break through. Then if you remove Tyranitar and you have something like Alakazam or I don't know, something like Jinx or Executor without Giga Drain or Mono Psychic Starmie or whatever you want, you can use a lot of tricky Pokemons that loses right away to Tyranitar, just okay, I will trade Gengar to Tyranitar and problem solved, because you can just Destiny Bond the Tyranitar and you're good. Raikou, well, this one is obvious. You will open up the Zapdos, and even sometimes a Gengar can just break Raikou kind of on its own with spikes and ice punches, thunder power, dynamic punches, stuff like that can happen, especially if it's not a Sleep Talk Raikou. So yeah. I don't remember if the Snorlax. Yeah, obviously, if you boom Snorlax, you're pretty happy, right? That is the bread and butter of GSC. If one of your Pokemon can boom Snorlax, you have a lot of threats that open up. So that's why, to me, Gengar is a crucial part of offense and a crucial part of offense that get a chance at beating Stall through spikes. Because another problem I have with offense is that if you don't run Gengar and you face like Tentacruel or a well-played Starmie, or even Starmie plus Fortress, without Gengar, the thing is your opponent is gonna spin. And if it's gonna spin, your options to breakthrough are like Rock Slide Steelix and Machamp, and some mixed Snorlax sets, and maybe some Tyranitar. Yeah, it's like for the Vast and Vaporeon, and yeah, if those stuff are just outstopped by something, or you cannot apply enough pressure to make them work, because yeah, without spikes it will be hard to find the free turns to get those ins and put the damage on. The thing is, yeah, you just won't break, and you're gonna lose slowly to their spikes. You actually are losing resources and momentum both at the same time, just for the reason that you are not using Gengar. Obviously, there are another way to get spikes versus Stall without Gengar against Starmie plus Fortress, but well, first that loses to Tentacruel, but we'll speak about that. We'll talk about that later. But if you have Toxic Cloister plus Crunch Titar, you are fine versus Starmie. There's still the problem of Fortress, because if you take a Toxic on Cloister early to get up your spikes, yeah, that's also one problem. You cannot take Toxic on Cloister, because even if you trap Starmie with Tyranitar Crunch, and Starmie's dead, you took some damage on Tyranitar probably, because yeah, you put a Crunch but you took Surf, and Fortress is gonna be with spikes up and Toxic on the Cloister. Fortress should be alright, beating Cloister at some point, and yeah, their Raikou is gonna double on it. Yeah, you will have a lot of troubles. Raikou plus Snorlax will still be super hard to beat. Yeah, at some point Cloister is gonna boom. The good thing is it's not gonna boom on Starmie, but it's not too hard to make it boom on Skarmory, especially if you are using Sleep Talk, blah 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 blah. Also, some people use Zapdos store right now. Zapdos plus Blissey, that's even more trouble. Yeah. Let's not introduce domains. Let's just keep it basic. But yeah, Gengar is a formidable addition to any offensive team, because it provides offensive momentum, explosion support, and spike support. And there is little your opponent can do to prevent that, unless they try to run something like Raikou plus Quagsire. Then maybe they have a chance to stop it. And you will choose, okay, which one do you want to boom, and I keep the other. Yeah, it's really hard to deal with. That's why I put Gengar first, because to me it's the most defining, well, not the most defining, but the GSC to me is all about Gengar right now. If you want to understand GSC, you need to understand how to build around and against, or just avoid Gengar. When I say avoid Gengar, I mean those teams that don't really care about Gengar anti-spinning. Well, not don't really care, but can play around that. For example, Golem has spiked up in usage recently, and what's good with Golem is that you don't play it in teams that are required to spike right away, to spin right away, and Gengar cannot really come on Golem, so you can play the long game versus Gengar and Cloy and finally get off the spikes by spinning, and that's actually quite a good thing. Yeah, another problem is that you still take some pressure from Gengar, but and Zapdos. Okay, let's say you just change the problem from I will just right away lose to spikes to I have to handle the pressure. It's another story completely, but yeah, if I get into those things, we won't never end this video. So okay, those are the reasons I think Gengar is just completely warping the metagame around itself. I'm a lot of people will disagree. I know that, but yeah, that's just my vision, my vision about the tier. Yeah, so let's go to something else. Maybe I would need, like, it's hard to explain it in English. It's not my mother tongue, but yeah. Trust me, Gengar is very, very, very good in GSC. You can disagree with my rankings criteria, but yeah, I think you get what I mean when I put Gengar top 1. But yeah. Okay, now let's talk about what's next. We talked about Zapdos already, so I will pass that. And we'll talk about Snorlax. Why is Snorlax third? Snorlax was always referred 1 when talking GSC, even right now. And I put it third, that's quite a big drop. And my opinion on Snorlax is that, as I said earlier in this video, Snorlax now is a lot of time, a vast majority of time, used as a defensive Pokemon. There are some exceptions. There are the very rare Drumlax. There are mixed Snorlax with Toxic that can be used sometime. There is obviously Lovely Kiss and Thunder Snorlax. But the most common non-defensive Snorlax is Curse EQ. Sleep Talk defensive Curse or whatever, but Sleep Talk Snorlax and Curse EQ Snorlax are probably like 90% of Snorlaxes or something like that in serious play, and those Snorlax aim at beating offense. Whether you have Sleep Talk to have the defensive coverage or Curse EQ to steamroll those teams, your main goal is to beat offense with that. And so I consider even Curse EQ as a proactive defensive resource, because like it's not really defensive, but the idea is that you are gonna sweep offense with that. So it's a resource against offense, so it's quote unquote defensive, even though I don't really like the term, but yeah, let's say it this way, so it's more simple. with that, Snorlax is actually used as a part of your team that is made just to not lose to a part of metagame that is offense and that is prevalent today. Is the most the best playstyle in GSC, it's offense. And your Snorlax is okay, I don't lose right away to offense. And that's in a vast majority of team, unless you try to make some spicy stuff or using some lower ranked Pokemon, this is what your Snorlax is gonna do. And since your Snorlax is going to do that a lot of the time, realistically, it's not this really wild thread using Belly Drum plus Lovely Kiss and stuff like that. Because, yeah, when's the last time you saw Lovely Kiss Belly Drum Snorlax in a serious game? Belly Drum Fire Blast, Curse 3 attacks, Belly Drum Explosion, Self-Destruct. Never. 10 years ago? 5 years ago? When? Because those sets, while theoretically you can play them, they aren't existing anymore, and I'm sad about it because Drum Lax is something I liked a lot, but if you're realistic, it's not consistent anymore. You can use that as a preparation versus a specific opponent, but it's just not that spammable anymore. There is no player like Earthworm before who could just spam Belly Drum Snorlax with Starmie and without any running spikes in Undertale. That doesn't exist anymore, and yeah, that's, you can say that's sad or whatever. Snorlax is not just as good as it was. The metagame has shifted offensively, and now Snorlax has to be a defensive teammate. And it's just a Pokemon like every other, it's just that you kinda have to run it to not lose to a lot of stuff, because it's the only Pokemon able to not lose momentum and come onto threats. But yeah, in reality, in practice, when you play games, Snorlax just doesn't do so much. It's like Swampert in some ADV and DPP metas that I played sometimes long ago, when Swampert is there. Okay, you have Swampert in your offensive team because it will check half the metagame, and when it dies, it dies. Or, well, the thing is, Snorlax can actually sweep sometimes, so it's not as it's way better than Swampert in this metagame, obviously, but you get the idea. Snorlax is not that. It's not that good. It's a good Pokemon. It's very, very good, but the metagame adapted to Snorlax and to bulkier playstyles, and no, offense is just super good. And offense completely ruins teams that try to use Snorlax too offensively, or at least you have to be smart about it. Yes, man, it's tough for Snorlax right now. It's tough, and that's what I wanted to show. Betting is third. Actually, maybe it's not third. Maybe it's second, and Zapdos is third. Okay, maybe. I don't really know. There is no like science about that. I can't be sure, but man, it's tough for Snorlax. Like, yeah, you just keep it as the Pokemon that prevents you to lose the game. But unless your opponent's team is quite weak to Snorlax, which shouldn't happen, or you are using a Snorlax set that is designated to beat this certain matchup, yes, Snorlax is just another Pokemon. Yeah, it's just another Pokemon. That's what Lax is right now, and yeah, it's completely fine to disagree with that, but that's my opinion on it. Yeah. Okay, then we have the A rank, and I put Cloister here because you have to have spikes, basically, and it's the best spike user. You can use Fortress too for spikes, even in offense. That's why I didn't put Cloister S, because you can always make the argument that you're not gonna use it. But yeah, a lot of time you will end up use Cloister and it's gonna be great. Then I put Tyranitar because it's just good. It's just a fantastic teammate, a team player, and also a playmaker. Actually, Tyranitar can. It is often played as a teammate using Pursuit, using Ether Crunch or EQ to trap the adapted Pokemon, using Roar to delay Snorlax enough for you to win the game, but actually Tyranitar can also win games single-handedly. It's like Curse, EQ, or Surf, as I saw people use that, can just win games alone later in the game, and even mixed Snorlax can dismantle some teams. So yeah, this thing is, especially now that Suicune is borderline unviable, mixed star is absolutely hard to wall. So yeah, just watch out for this one. There is a lot to be done with Tyranitar. I don't think it will. No, I don't think it can go way up. There's still stuff to be discovered, but yeah, this thing cannot go too much higher. Yeah, it will never beat just Spikes or Cloister on the VR, but yeah, I think it's Tyranitar can still be better. Not in comparison to other Pokemon, but just there are stuff that we didn't. We know all the possible set of Tyranitar, but I think we still have teams to make with it. Yeah, I think Tyranitar can be a formidable threat in the metagame, and people are underestimating how threatening it can be. Okay, so next we have Raikou. Raikou, who actually I've put second on my first VR, and historically has been third. No, it's sixth. Raikou has the same problem as Snorlax to me, is that it's become more and more purely a defensive resource, and you don't really. You are using it because your team requires it, but I don't find myself happy to have to run Raikou on my team. I just use it because I have to, and it enables a lot of teams. It does a great job at walling the stuff it has to wall, and that's all. It just, yeah, that's all. I love the impact Raikou has on the building, but I don't think Raikou is amazing in practice. It obviously, yeah, it's 6, so it's very good Pokemon. Don't get me wrong, but it's not as good as we once thought it is, or whatever you have to say. Yeah, just that. I don't. It lost a lot of sets. Now you kinda have to run Sleepdog or War, and Reflect are long gone, in my opinion. Yeah, well, Sleepdog is just the only set. The thing is, Raikou is very hard to get past if you manage to spin, but it's harder and harder to be able to spin. But yeah, each enables teams that want to spin, basically. Okay, so next we have Nidoking, and I have some stats here that I don't really understood. I saw that this morning. Nidoking was used a total of 8 times this SPL and had a 37.5% win rate. And yeah, 8 uses is below is like 8% usage, which is completely dumb to me. Nidoking is one of the best Pokemon of the tier. The thing is, it doesn't provide a lot of team support. Like, it can't fifth something, it can click Lovely Kiss, that's good, but that's also enabling itself, so it's not really a team player. That's why I didn't put it higher, because the 6 Pokemon before it are all team players. In addition to being good Pokemon themselves. But Nidoking just single-handedly win games. Sometimes it's insane. Nidoking is so fucking hard to stop. Even Sleeptalk Snorlax can sometimes fail to it. It is absolutely easy to enable. If you have like just spikes down is often enough, but if you manage to have something that just sieves Snorlax and that's all, Nidoking is pretty much unbeatable. Well, not unbeatable, but you have to run like stuff like Umbreon, P2, Alakazam. You have to play your Zapdos very, very well and have good Sleeptalk rows. Or put the pressure, or inverse the pressure, try to be more aggressive, but Nidoking is fucking... Nah, this shit is completely bonkers when it hits the field. It's... You have to think twice about what you want to send on it, and it abuses a lot of Pokemon. It has a very decent bulk, and yeah, if you come, you can come on a Gengar's Thunderbolt, you can come on a Raikou, you can, if Golem clicks Roar or Steelix or low, Steelix you won't do enough damage, but if Golem clicks Roar and is pretty low in life and Nidoking is coming, you have a free Ice Beam. A Skarmory will get abused by Nidoking too. Zapdos will abuse Skarmory too, but yeah, also Zapdos plus Nidoking as a combination is so fucking hard to beat. If you have Raikou saying, "Oh, okay, I will lessen the pressure on Lax by rolling Zapdos," and oh shit, when I come to on Zapdos, Nidoking is coming. What do? Oh, I go Snorlax, but if I choose to not run Sleeptalk on my Snorlax because I had Raikou for Zapdos, now I'm in big trouble because I don't beat Nidoking. So I have to run Heracross or Alakazam or whatever, and even like that, I would recommend having Sleeptalk on Snorlax because that might not be enough. Nidoking is an absolute monster of a threat, and yeah, I don't understand this SPL statistic. Some people might have done something wrong because yeah, Nidoking is absolutely bonkers in the GSC OU metagame, and yeah, it completely deserves this spot on the tier list. We have Skarmory, which is basically enabling slower playstyles, which are stall or slow offenses. Especially a set that made me like Skarmory in slower offenses with like double electric golem and stuff is this HP Fire Toxic Whirlwind Rest set, which completely denies Fortress from spinning on you or clicking spikes on you, and makes you handle Curse EQ Snorlax while playing still an offensive team. And to me, that's a really valuable asset. Enabling Stall to is just completely unvaluable. Like, this Pokemon is saying Stall can exist, and therefore it has to be ranked well because it's just making an entire playstyle viable. I say that Scamroy makes Stall absolutely exist because if you want to know if Stall was played greatly in a tournament or if it had a good tournament, you just go to the tournament usage and you see Scamroy win rate. And you know if people play Stall correctly or if Stall is any good in the metagame. Well, you have to inspect the game then, but you can see if Stall won a lot of or not in a tournament by checking Scamroy's win rate, which is pretty funny. Like, not funny, it's like completely logical, but it's a good thing to know. Once you know it, you notice things from another angle. Okay, then we have the classic offense payoffs, and kind of not only payoff but also hit and run Pokemons, Jinx and Machamp, which can both open shit or just clean shit or whatever. They just are really good Pokemon in offense. Jinx is the go-to special offense 6, and Machamp is the go-to physical offense 1, or Nidoking partner if you choose to drop Gengar or Tyranitar. You can do that. You can use Machamp in its place. Machamp in particular is pretty good because a lot of people will use Snorlax as their offense beater or their wildcard against offense, and when Machamp comes up and you have Nidoking plus Machamp and Zapdos has to somehow come on both because Snorlax isn't enough to just come on Nidoking over and over and over, even with Sleep Talk. You will break Zapdos and then Machamp will run away with the game a lot of the time. Also, Machamp is a fantastic Tyranitar abuser. Both using Tyranitar as a team raid to trap some stuff or just coming on Tyranitar and claiming some damage or even a kill. So I think that Machamp is also really good because it can beat Scamroy without outside help. And to me, that's the main appeal of Zapdos in Bulkier's team, is that you have a secondary Machamp check. And Machamp especially is really good. And obviously Jinx, its reputation at destroying offensive teams and forcing Sleep Talk on Snorlax. That's still true. And Raikou isn't like Raikou plus non-Sleep Talk Snorlax. That's not free against Jinx. Jinx can actually beat that, and that's why I put Jinx that high. Is that big? You Sleep Talk Snorlax if you want to be safe. Otherwise, you will have huge troubles. And even Sleep Talk Snorlax is sometimes not enough. Okay, so now we have Starmie Fortress. Obviously, spikes are good. Spikes, you don't want them on your side. So bulky teams will have to run a spinner. And Fortress and Starmie are really good for that. And also, Fortress get up spikes, which is kind of great. So nothing really much to say here. Give me a second. Yeah, we're good. Okay, so now we will talk about Golem and Steelix. Okay, so Steelix right now, I think I ranked it lower than last time because the metagame is way too offensive right now for Steelix to be a go-to Pokemon, but in the matchups where it works, it will work pretty well, and it's not that hard to trade it for Zapdos if you really need to. So yeah, I still think Steelix is a good Pokemon, but it's more of a tournament Pokemon than just something you can spam. And Golem is a bit of the same. The thing is, nah, it's not the same. Golem is a role player. You want it in some specific team. You don't want to spam it like some people do right now. You want it in specific team to enable certain archetypes, but you don't want to spam it either. Yeah, I think they are pretty close, just doing different things. Then, well, I don't have to explain what they do actually. Like, I'm just explaining their place in the metagame, because yeah, I think everyone watching this video absolutely knows what Golem is doing or Steelix is doing. Okay, now we have Tentacruel, which is the best spinner in the game, period. If your opponent isn't running specifically Gengar, I don't know if I can say mischievous stuff. Like Tentacruel, you probably have to run with Tyranitar anyway, so this Missy will get trapped for sure. Gengar is another story though, so yeah, I will say if your opponent isn't specifically running Gengar, they won't have spikes up. Ever. Unless they run something stupid like HP Ground, Cloister, or Fortress, but yeah. Other than that, they won't have spikes up versus Tentacruel. Ever. And if they don't have spikes up, they better have something that 6 OU, because they won't be grinding you if your team is well built. It will be very hard to grind you little by little if they don't have some absurd threats that can just take a kill whenever it comes, or force use damage on one Pokemon. Which are stuff that are few and far between in GSC. So that's why I love Tentacruel so much, is that Cloister and Fortress are absolutely walled by this shit, as they can't even toxic you, and you can just spam spin and force a boom. And it's not like Tentacruel is a really insane defensive asset that they are happy to boom, because yeah, I don't really care about Tentacruel defensively most of the time. So if they boom, that just means they got rid of their spikes themselves, and you are pretty happy to not have to go on Tentacruel every time they sound Cloister. That just gives them less gameplay and double switching loops, which is good for you as the Tentacruel player. So yeah, Tenta is that good in my opinion. Obviously, you can't play it in every team, so yeah, that's why it's so low. Not so low, but yeah, it's pretty. It's not well. It's not Jinx or Starmie good, because yeah, you need specific team to make it work. Executor, I think, is a good Pokemon. The problem is you cannot play like 6 or 7 moves on it. You can only play 4, and Therefore, you will have, in my opinion, trouble to justify it in a team or finding the right movesets for it. So, yeah, I would love to find a team where this shit is doing a lot of work, but yeah, I never seen it really shine consistently. So yeah, I put it quite low. Alakazam. Okay, so now I will just stop on the Pokemon that I really think I have something specific to say about it, because stuff like Umbreon, yeah, everyone knows what it does. Yeah, it's not really interesting for me. Oh yeah, Umbreon, it gives up a lot of momentum, but it can beat Snorlax with Curse, and Nidoking in the same slot, so that might be considered for a stall team. Yeah, everyone knows that. I don't need to explain that. Okay, so Alakazam is really good versus offensive teams. Even slower team can struggle versus Alakazam just because of its sheer power. If you can read off or contain Snorlax forever, Alakazam at some point will just beat your opponent. It's also a huge momentum generator and a check to Machamp and Gengar, which are some of the best Pokemon to beat slower teams. Also, Alakazam can be a lure to Tyranitar because Toxic plus Recover just beat it one-on-one. So Tyranitar cannot come even on a Psychic from Alakazam if you have Toxic Recover. So yeah. Also switching to Nidoking, which is pretty good. Yeah, so Alakazam is a very, very good Pokemon. Quagsire is absolutely destroying Nido-Gartar archetypes and double Elec archetypes, and it's pretty good versus Stall, so yeah, absolutely. I haven't seen a very, very 100% consistent Quagsire team yet, but this shit is so scary that I had to rank it pretty high. Porygon 2 is for offensive teams that don't have the luxury to run Skarmory, but still want a solid EQ Snorlax counter, and want to free up some space on their own Snorlax and don't want to run Septok Mono Attacker with Curse. P2 is for them, and I think that's a really cool way to approach building right now, and massively underrated. I think there is a lot of shit to be done with P2 because offense will have a lot of trouble stopping a cursing P2 a lot of time. So yeah, especially if it curses repeatedly. So yeah, I love Porygon 2. Rhydon is really good versus Nidogartar, so yeah, that's why I put it there. Espion is the Alakazam that want to focus on beating offense. Just clicking growth will make you really, really, really good versus all kind of boom offense or Nidogartar if Tar got rid of. So yeah, that's Espion, and Jolteon is a bit of the same but less good, so I put it lower. Blissey completely shreds a lot of off-beat special offense. So yeah, just here because of that, it's Blissey structure are way different to beat than Raikou structure, and a lot of offensive teams are just not prepared enough. So yeah, it can farm some people really hard. Vaporeon either win alone or do nothing, so yeah, I think a lot of people will put it higher, but I think it's not good. Yeah, Moltres, maybe you can use some War Toxic set, but I haven't seen it perform yet. I think that was the interesting Pokemon there. Venusaur with Poison Powder is, in my opinion, underrated. on a lot of defensive team it is better than Suicune, while sharing a similar role. But yeah, I won't expand much on those low ranked Pokemon. I think we all know what they do, more or less. So yeah, I will end up here. I didn't use Pokemon Showdown on the back in the end. And oh, that's 50 minutes. So yeah, I hope you liked the video. If you disagree with me on any point, well, it's okay to be wrong. Yes, there's no problem with that. Just put a comment and insult me so I can get recommended by the YouTube algorithm. Don't forget to give me a thumb up or a thumb down so the YouTube algorithm still recommend me. And have a good day, everyone. Goodbye.